In this lesson, we're going to access sample datasets. After completing this lesson, you'll be able to navigate the data panel and open a file. In Fusion 360, we're going to start with a blank untitled document. This is how Fusion's going to look every time you simply open the program without accessing a specific file. To get started in Fusion, you might be wondering what kinds of things you can model. And we'll get into all that, but first I'm going to start by pointing you to the location of some sample datasets. Datasets are stored on the cloud, and when we take a look at samples, these are going to be read-only files. And to do this, we're going to select the icon in the upper left-hand corner called Show Data Panel. When we select this, this will show all the projects that are in the current hub where you're working. Now in my case, what I want to do is I want to scroll all the way to the bottom. We have libraries and we have samples. Inside of here, there are samples for various things, such as CAM for manufacturing, generative design, simulation, and even areas for things like workshops and events. We're going to take a look at the design samples. So we'll double click on this and notice that inside of here we have three separate files: a bike frame, a lamp, and a utility knife. We're going to see some of these later on in our course, so to get started, let's double click on the lamp. When we double click on a data set inside of the data panel, this is going to open it up inside of Fusion 360 in what's called the canvas area. We're going to hide the data panel and focus in on our design. It's important that we understand how to work in Fusion 360, how to rotate our models, and how to make various changes. And we'll get into all that when we start to learn the user interface. But a few things that we want to make sure that we understand here. First is that we're working with a design, and if we want to rotate it, we can use various keyboard shortcuts like holding down the Shift key and the middle mouse wheel. As we do that, we can free orbit if we're using the default settings. We also have the option to use the View cube in the upper right-hand corner. This allows us to go back and forth between predefined views, such as this corner between the right, the back, and the top view. We can then hold down the middle mouse wheel or middle mouse button, depending on what device you're using, and we can pan. This actually has several different what are called components in it, and we'll get into that later on in our course as well. But for right now, I want to note that this item has a lock at the top telling us that it's read-only. Anytime we're working with designs that are read-only, if we want to continue to make adjustments and work with them, we need to create a Save As. In order to do that, we'll need to use the drop-down and select Save As. We haven't created a place to save this file yet, so we're not going to make any adjustments or changes. We simply want to make sure that you can open the data panel, navigate to the design samples, and open the lamp. We're going to pick up with this design in the next lesson, so feel free to play around, rotating, manipulating the model, making sure that you're comfortable working inside of Fusion 360. But remember that later on in the course, we'll take a closer look at the user interface and how to work with Fusion 360.